And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Three Man Weave College Basketball Podcast. Thursday morning here, 7 a.m. local standard time. Matthew Cox running point tonight. Kai McKeon, cohort one. Jimbo Root, cohort two. College basketball, cohort three. Yes, Feast Week is upon us. We will preview all of the action coming up the next, 10 days or so. Funny little year we have Thanksgiving delayed, Kai. Kind of a throwback to last year. It snuck up on us. This year, I'm yearning for it. But lots of kind of appetizer basketball before the feast week. We'll get to reactions to that as well. How are you this morning wearing your spinning hat? Very on brand for our organization.
I'm good. I know spinny hats are usually reserved for Saturday, but we're talking Feast Week previews, so we're talking games, so I can get spinny. And also, historically, Jim, I tell you what, from a betting perspective, Feast Week's always been a lot more difficult for me than, we'll say, the rest of November.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm a little scandalized that you're wearing that hat. I feel like, oh gosh, you took that out today. It's like wearing white at a wedding or something. I don't.
It's
That's
a faux
the
pas.
thing.
It's a bit of a faux pas, yes.
Nice,
Yeah.
good word.
But I would tend to agree with you, Kai. That actual wagering on Feast Week, sometimes I feel like teams are willing to play a little more random styles. They're not as true to their identity, playing on these random neutral courts against completely different opponents. So I'm treading lightly there, Kai, but this is not a betting show. This is just our podcast, and we're
Yes.
going to give previews of the events, the teams, maybe make just picks of who we think will win. Matthew, I'm excited to talk about it. There's a ton of events, good ones, great ones, and some okay ones.
Yeah, some weird ones. It's funny that the best ones are played in the weirdest venues. We have, a civic center and then two ballrooms feature three of the best MTEs. So kind of an odd setup, but such is the charm of collegiate hoop. Let's get into it. I want to get right into the nitty gritty here. So we're gonna go through some self promotion, selfless promotion, as we always start off our program with a shout to Jay Pitty, aka Joe Paskoff, the GOAT of the college basketball intro and outro music realm, and that's a big realm, Kai, a big domain that he
Huge.
dominates. Subscribe to our podcast. That's iTunes, Spotify. Most importantly, I would say would be YouTube. If you're watching live, hit that like button right now. If you're listening elsewhere, go into YouTube, pull up this feed, hit the like and subscribe button. That would be very helpful for us, where you can leave reviews and ratings, and we'll read those at the end of the podcast, discuss them. If you have questions, field them. We will address. And then, of course, the Trilly Donovan Discord, Burner Ball. If you're not a member, what are you doing? What are we doing? Join. I'll continue to beat the drum of don't join for us, join for the communal intellect of the group. It's continuing to be almost more of a help for, I think, myself from learning from others. However, I hope that occasionally along the way we do provide some insight to you if you're a member. Very heavy daily discussion. I know people are trying to ask, what is our, what are you guys betting? What do you guys like about this? Like, that's kind of where we are discussing sort of most of our college basketball chatter behind the scenes. So if you want to talk with us and other people who know ball, Jordan Majeski's been in there recently. So just a kind of a potpourri of ball knowers. If you're not in there, you might be branded as a non-ball knower, and that would be devastating for you.
Yes.
So
Easy link in the description to the YouTube video.
yes,
And Matthew,
in the
I'm sure,
podcast.
I'm sure Matt will put it in the podcast description
I do.
as well.
Hey, I think I was the first one to do that, by the way. I think that
Oh.
was like the only good thing I've done in terms of marketing or admin in the last 2 years of my membership here. And yes, also in the description to the podcast, if you're a Spotify guy, which is kind of my preferred medium. Any other Discord notes or chest beating marketing? I think that's it.
That's it.
Round it up.
Let's round it up, Jimbo.
Let's do it, fellas. A little Roots Roundup, news and notes. Not a ton. As we get into actual ball season, the news is on the court, not off the floor. And we like that. We appreciate that. But we will, quick shout out CVB Analytics, Matthew, before we get into all of the big news and notes.
That's right, Jim. CBB Analytics is our official sponsor, the holy grail of college basketball analytics. I was on the phone with Nick last week, actually. He's about to roll out a bunch of new features for the site. Stay tuned, folks. But also went through a few other newer features that I was not even aware of. They actually are unveiling a new live score, basically like a live play-by-play shot chart feed for the game, so you actually can see live shot charts throughout the game. Basically just a way better score app, as I've just been continuously frustrated with refreshing my ESPN feed. I will be pivoting to that as well, along with a bunch of other metrics. The one was the on and off stat thing. There's a new lineup tool that he's baking in there to look at net production on off court, combinations of players. Again, just taking what he already has to the next level, which is already phenomenal. So if you're not a member or you have not subscribed, please do so. Sign up today under promo code WEAVE, WEAVE, for $40 off your subscription. CBAnalytics.com.
.com.
Well said.
Thank you.
Well said. Use
Sorry, I
that
can't
promo
talk
code,
this
sign
morning.
up, get a little discount. It is a great, great site, especially as we get into feast week. So much information, a treasure trove. Okay, guys, no real key headlines to mention. Nothing, no realignment, no controversies, no scandals. The sport is not dying. We love it. We love it as is. But so we'll talk quick recruiting here. 2025, the rich get richer in the Big 12. Point guard Kingston Flemings headed to Houston, and power forward Bryson Tiller to Kansas. Both top 20 recruits, two teams that are already outstanding favorites in the conference. They're just going to keep getting better and better. Kai, we've got a nostalgic one for us here, though, next. Keon Anthony, four-star shooting guard, son of Carmelo Anthony, is headed to Syracuse,
Yep.
following in father's footsteps. His quote was like, I want to go there and make my own name for myself. It's like, well, it's going to be hard. I feel like people are going to think about your dad's name quite a bit.
Why would you choose Syracuse if you want to do that? Yes, very cool. Very cool. We remember watching Carmelo Anthony. I think he was 03, right? So
Were you still cheering for Kansas in the title game at that
I
point?
was cheering for Kansas in the title game. Yes.
Oh,
Tough.
I was
okay. There we go.
13, so yes, I was a KU fan back then. That was a great game. The
It was
the
a
block.
fantastic game.
The
Hakeem
the
Warwick
block?
blocked.
Michael Lee,
Yes,
Yes.
good man. There
number
we go.
25. Yes.
Yes.
Hey, I watched that game from a hotel in Augusta, Georgia, during the Masters. It was rained
Oh,
out. So me
wow.
and my uncles and my dad did a road trip to go see the Masters, and it was rained out. So it was basically the longest road trip for no yield. But we
was
watched
like-
that game in the hotel. So
That was like a
fun
humble
association.
brag back to
That
complaints.
sucks.
Back to-
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry to hear that, Matthew. Going to the
Yeah, it's
Masters
tough.
would be terrific. Alabama also got a big time recruit, combo guard Davion Hanna, a big Mizzou target, Kai. So one
Great.
solitary tear rolling down our cheeks here. Nate Oates continues to win on the recruiting trail and on the court. Arch rival down there in the iron ball of basketball, the IBOB, as Trilly Donovan calls it. Sebastian Williams Adams, top 50 power forward, headed to Bruce Pearl and the Tigers, and staying in the SEC. Mississippi State and Arkansas each getting top 100 players. Four-star center T. Bartlett to the Bulldogs, and four-star combo guard Isaiah Seeley to the Razorbacks. Matt, you don't often see John Calipari recruiting the fringes of the top 100, trying to get some actual program pillars rather than one and
Multi-year
dones
guys.
and yeah, how about that?
I guess I think he probably wishes he had more than like 9 guys this year. It would probably help. So
Yeah, especially
maybe
since like
there's
two of them are
depth
hurt
in,
right now.
yeah. So if like one more guy gets hurt, they're going to be trotting me out there at the 4 or 3. I don't know where he put me, but one of those two.
You're a tweener. You're a tweener, Matt. Don't limit
It's
yourself
a small
to
ball
one
look this
positional
year.
box.
It's positional.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
exactly.
I appreciate that.
And a quick shout out to Stetson, not a top 100 recruit, but four-star shooting guard J.R. Leonard, going to be a Hatter. The eighth son, reeling in a big recruit here. Donnie Jones and co. down there in DeLand, Florida. Leonard, probably going to be a stud in that conference, if I had to guess, based on pedigree and competition. All right, that is it for recruiting. Transfer world, we have a reverse Naquan Tomlin, Kai. The midseason transfer, leaving Memphis, going to Kansas State. Tyreek Smith, we talked about him leaving Memphis on a previous episode. He's headed to K-State. He has committed. Not playing this year. He's going to sit out. That front court is already crowded enough. But it's fun to see the trades happen in college basketball. The player to be named later.
Is there a connection with K-State and Memphis staffs that makes this transition easier, or is this just pure coincidence in college basketball?
I think it's just a coincidence, and two programs that have money to throw around, and I would say play free styles relatively. I don't know. I guess that's, and then they both want a lot of people. They want depth. They want
Right.
To play a deeper rotation. So I guess it makes sense from that perspective. In other news and notes, before we get to, we saw that Dedrick Taylor, the all-time winningest coach at Fullerton. It seems we have made a policy here, and I like it, of announcing coaches when they become the all-time winningest coach at their school. Fullerton not really having a home run year, Kai, but they narrowly took care of business against Idaho State in that gymnasium with the orange trees on it. They were able to get a win, and congrats to Mr. Taylor.
I feel like they're better than I thought they'd be, a little bit. Not like a ton, but a little bit. So Taylor, I think Taylor's a good coach. I think he's done pretty good there.
He's solid. He's got Kobe Brown's little brother playing well out there,
Yeah,
Kai.
so if you can do
Caleb
that,
Brown.
yeah,
Well,
you're
yeah,
a
he
good
was
coach.
not a notorious, not a noteworthy Mizzou Tiger,
No.
but he is noteworthy at Cal State Fullerton. And we also have the Reddit stat of the day, Mr.
Yes,
McEwen.
it's back. Reddit side of the day.
It is back.
Thank you to Dow D Dickinson is the username on Reddit. 2 players this century across the NBA, WNBA, and Division I men and women's have recorded 50-plus points, 40-plus assists, and 5 or fewer turnovers over their team's first 4 games of the season. They are this year's Ryan Nembhard from Gonzaga and 2015 Chris Paul on the Clippers. Hey, not bad. I hate stats that transcend levels of basketball, but I am okay with this one. Sure, put it in there. Cool, he even knows that's even a stat right now.
Especially considering, hey, they play more minutes in the NBA. So if you're doing something that's not even done in the NBA, I think that puts on display how impressive your accomplishment is. Nemhard has been a complete monster. I mean, he has a 8-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, Matthew. That's going to lead the country if you continue that. He's just been brilliant. His ball screen mastery, he's got even more weapons to distribute to with Battle in there and the maturation of the bigs. He's terrific. He's going to lead probably the best offense in the country. I would think Gonzaga is number 1 in offense pretty much the whole year.
Graham Ike, best career move was going to play with Ryan Nembhard at Gonzaga. I mean, nice player, Graham Ike, but like Ryan Nembhard makes you look really, really good. He is that good of a passer.
Yep, and to Gonzaga's credit too, they've played a top 100 schedule already at San Diego State. They played Baylor on that semi-neutral, mostly home in Spokane. This isn't completely just by game destruction. It's just been really, really impressive performances from the Zags. Top 5 team. They currently sit number 1 at KenPom after demolishing Long Beach State last night. So yeah, Gonzaga, pretty darn good. That's it for Roots Roundup, guys. Man, we kick it back over to you for We've Saw That. Maybe a little blended. We've Saw That, a couple thoughts off it because we're replacing thoughts with the Feast Week preview.
Yeah, a couple of things that we saw. We will talk about more things we saw as we go through the MTE rundown, because we won't go through every matchup in those, but when we get to some tournaments, there'll be some teams in those that like we haven't talked about, and we probably saw some things, and we probably have some thoughts about those teams. So you can see where we're kind of blending that together. Kind of fun.
Very smart. Yes, you're very clever.
We'll start with our first big ticket item of what we saw last night. Alabama, Illinois, guns blazing, offense, pace, movement, skill, finesse, the modern game. It really was like an expose of like where college basketball probably was going to be in 10 years, the way the NBA is leading the pack of player development and prototypes and the types of dudes that teams want. So I just want to say that off the top. That was a really fun basketball game. Tough if you're if you're a young Zach Edey aspiring plotting big guy, those two programs may not be best for you. But Jim, Bama, Mark Sears, the All-American, who many of us thought could be player of the year, a complete non-factor, but it didn't matter because Bama's just deep and talented and older than the younger, but fairly impressive Illini, I would say. Fairly impressive.
Yeah, Mark Sears benched himself. He literally told Nate Oates not to put him back in.
Oh, that was him?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
He was like, I'm not playing well. Don't put me in. And LeBaron Filan, the freshman, who I'm sure Kai will wax poetic about, was terrific.
I will.
near triple-double for him. How did anyone rank him? Like, oh, he's about the 30th best guy in the class.
I don't know.
What do you watch?
He's got the Colin Sexton vibes going with the hair. It's just like, oh, this guy's great. This guy's amazing.
Yep. Aiden Holloway was terrific. The Auburn transfer that struggled last year. He actually made jump shots yesterday, and that's a huge, huge part of his game. Not surprised to see 1 rebound, 2 assists for Holloway, but he can shoot the ball. And with Filan leading the charge, he doesn't really need to be a big-time playmaker. Grant Nelson made a career-high 4 threes. So Alabama kind of showed off what the peak version of them can look like. And as everybody will make the point, they didn't even need Mark Sears for that. So that tells you the depth of weaponry, the depth of just scoring that they have. But yeah, I'm with Matt. Illinois was pretty encouraging for their first non-home game against a bye game opponent for the youth and the international flavor that they have.
Yeah, I think you got your first like good Kylan Boswell offensive game for Illinois too. So that was like encouraging for them. Illinois takeaways from Illinois. Will Riley is
yes
faring better than I expected for sure. Dude can shoot. His shot is pretty. I'll give him that. Not free throws for some reason he was missing, but yeah, he's a very unorthodox player. It does not look
Yeah, he
like
is.
it's not necessarily smooth. It's kind of like a weird like I don't know gait to him, but he's effective. But
He's a little bit of a goober,
he's a
Kai,
bit of a
but he's good
goober.
at basketball.
But
Yeah.
those Bama guards, man, are so fast. I'm talking Phylon, even Latrell Wrightsell and Aiden Holloway. Like they were transition. It was immediate. They're in the front court immediately after a miss or a made basket. It was impressive to watch and truly unstoppable. Phylon is one of the best freshmen, one of the better players I've watched all season. Matt, I was blown away by him against Illinois.
Yeah, I think it's Gonzaga, Auburn, and now Alabama as sort of like the three teams that like have really wowed me from the eye test in big spots so far. I'm not telling it's the three best teams to say those really like I took note of that Mark Cuban gif of like, okay, very impressive. But Illinois, just a quick I know we threw
Did
shade at Illinois or were skeptical
did
of Illinois.
Purdue not wow you against
Yeah,
this
Purdue.
very
Sorry. Yeah,
Alabama
I
team?
should I should say
Okay.
Purdue since they literally just did that to the team that just impressed me. And yeah, those freshmen are going to be well with Purdue in a little bit, but yeah, those three though I will say, but also Illinois, just a quick impressive. I still think there's like 8 teams in the Big Ten better than you, but still very impressive. Big Ten's really good this year.
Good. I like it. Matt digging in. Don't give up on that ranking them outside the top 50 take quite yet.
Yeah, that was a bad take.
Okay. All right. He did give up on it. I
They're
tried,
not
Kai. I
top.
tried
They're not
to
top 20, but they are top 50.
The match is freeze.
Matthew? No, I
Oh,
think he's
sorry.
just forgetting that he's the host.
I did forget I was the host there. I was reading the list. Okay. Yeah, we'll keep going here. Yes, we talked about Gonzaga. It stinks that San Diego State was not healthy for that game. Like that game never really felt that competitive. And I think a fully healthy Aztec team maybe makes that, more interesting. Um,
Yes. Like
but
Miles Bird
still
was a zero. Like he
Yeah,
zero.
he's
played but
hurt.
was a zero. And then of course Reese Waters out till like league play, I think.
Yeah, so our guy Nicky Boyd did all he could, but that's still a young team, man. They got some young guys up front that still have to go through some seasoning. Um, but yeah, I still Gonzaga kept him at arm's length and I think played like we expected them to play. So again, we'd hope to see that at full strength, but just wasn't the case. The St. John's Patino Bowl over the weekend. Me and my brother
That
watched
was
this
fun.
from the car. It was fun, frustrating if you're a New Mexico
Yes.
fan.
Or backer.
Bet yeah, or better, which I was. I it was to see son was daddied by father. He was coaching wise, the execution was like night and day, but I think just the physicality of St. John's and like that's what a Rick Pitino team is. It's a team that's super dogged defensively. They're going to crush you on the glass. I mean, Kai's right. They just bullied New Mexico. And I thought New Mexico
Bullied
is
him.
not like a soft team, but like there was a very clear difference in physicality. And I mean, every rebound was just like you were hoping and praying if you're a Lobo fan. So I think the Johnny's identity is very much set in stone. I think there's some volatility to come, but their floor is very, very high with the way they can rebound.
Yeah, they got 58% of their misses. It's absurd.
Is
Like
that high?
they're
Holy
and
cow.
like
Yeah, I felt even
more than
higher.
half of their misses were going right back to St. John's. That's how they scored 1.21 points per possession while shooting 22% from three.
Yeah.
Like the concern with this team was spacing, can they shoot? They've kind of taken the Houston approach of it doesn't matter if the shots go in because we're just going to keep getting them. And that worked out very well for them. Speaking of daddying, daddy, did you guys hear about the chant like Rick Pitino telling the
Oh,
crowd
we
to
tried to
stop chanting
calm it
"Who's your
down.
daddy"?
Oh, you gotta
Yeah,
let that go, Rick.
they were chanting "Who's your
It's a good
daddy?" and he
chant.
tried
It's a
to.
good chant.
Yeah, I
He's his
guess he's
dad.
worried. He's worried about Little Richard's feelings. Oh, it's too bad. It's high level college basketball. He's getting paid seven figures. You can chant anything you want at him. That's what I say, Kai.
Yeah.
If you're cashing those checks, you're gonna be just fine.
I was wildly impressed by St. John's. The physicality stood out. Zuby Ejiofor is a monster, but RJ Lewis, man, like he doesn't look like the strongest guy in the world, but he just bullies into people. His offensive game is just, you're not going to stop me. I'm going to get to the rim. I'm going to go through you. He's drawing 8 fouls per 40 minutes right now. That's like top 15 in the country. It's a foul every time because he just keeps on like ramming his shoulder into the guy, and the refs have to call it eventually. It's a physical team. We know Kadari Richmond's awesome, and it's an old team too. I'm very impressed by St. John's.
Lewis is like an all-American right now. People are making a huge deal about it. We'll talk about it
Yeah.
shortly. Cam Jones's triple-double. Lewis had 21 11-7 against New Mexico with one turnover.
Mhm.
Like he's been fantastic, 32% usage. If Kadari Richmond's not their best player, and I already know Kadari Richmond rocks, that tells you a lot about St. John's.
Yeah, I remember how important or how much Frank Martin loved him at UMass. Like loved him. And I was like, okay, yeah, this guy's nice. And then last year he didn't really ever assert himself, but now
He
he
had the shin
is.
splints last year. That's what
Oh,
killed
that's right,
him.
the shin splint thing. God, I thought only marathon dudes had that. Also,
Well, maybe
can we
maybe he's
can we
running
detour
marathons.
to talk about the cramping epidemic that's going on in our sport? It's
Yeah,
every
guys
game,
are people are
every
cramping
game.
in like the first half. It's ridiculous.
Drink water. Drink water. Try water.
Oh, and
It's like
electrolytes, get those in
And
there.
Gatorade. Are they doing like
my,
the dumb? And there's some dumb like Gen Z thing. They love all these like weird drinks that are like
yeah,
total
I,
garbage.
well, a lot of things I
I
do are
won't name
dumb.
names, but
What's even dumber is how we have like me and or Nick talk about how there's just too many coaches and some like there's like 20 million staffers or assistants around some of these huddles. It's like surely one guy can be in charge of hydration. Like we can specialize
Yeah.
in
the water
that.
boy.
The water guy. Literally, there's a whole movie about your role. Just own
We
that.
need we need to bring back the Tom Herman chart of the color of your pee. And
Yes.
is it are you a champion level hydrated or are you a bad teammate? Make
I
sure
do
you got
subscribe to that.
clear
That's
urine.
a very good framework to
Yeah.
assess your hydration throughout the day. Uh, Back on track here. We'll talk about the Charleston Classic coming up here, but the Charleston FAU game was awesome. The second annual Field of 68 trifecta special. We're seeing more of these like triangular series where the teams just kind of rotate, which is I think really smart for these mid majors. But this one was awesome. You had three like legit upper end mid majors, and all three games delivered for the most part. Especially the triple overtime Charleston FAU game,
It was
which
I'm an
was an
idiot. It was double
offensive
overtime.
display.
I'm sorry, man. It
Double
was
OT?
double overtime. I'll correct the outline. Yes, it was 2 OT. But yeah, it was
It felt
insane.
like triple OT.
Yeah.
We deserved triple OT. Well, I guess FAU played three OTs in 2 days. They played overtime the next day to get a victory over Liberty, 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 and John Jacobs and the boys look good. All three of those teams I like. That's my takeaway from that little field. I think those are all fun teams and teams I think are probably favored to win their or top two in their league, top three in their leagues. FAU's obviously AAC a little different there, but they're right there. Good.
They might be top three. That league it hasn't looked all that
Yeah, it's a little
strong to
dicey.
start the season. Unfortunately, I think they got picked over pretty clean in the portal. But yeah, Charleston probably the favorite in CAA right now, and Liberty is the betting favorite in CUSA in a couple places.
I agree,
Hi,
Matthew. Yeah,
WCC.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, WCC and Mountain West. Some
Okay.
big wins there. What conference has caught your eye so far to date, if you had to choose one?
I think the Mountain West is still really, really good. I think I expect it to be down almost across the board. And I think there's like a not so fast, my friend. There's still like potentially a lot of tournament teams again. Boise State has looked awesome. Nevada has looked probably like the best team in this league. And we're going to see a game with Vanderbilt today after this podcast. I'm very curious what happens there. Utah State hasn't missed a beat transitioning coaches. I still believe in San Diego State. Losing to Gonzaga is not a fault, and a healthy Miles Bird, you guys mentioned, could solve that too. New Mexico's still good. There's a
Yeah, they
lot to like.
dismantled UCLA. Remember?
Yeah,
They
New Mexico
dismantled
smoked
UCLA.
UCLA. I mean, yeah, and the other teams aren't. The bottom of the league is pretty bad, but there's still 5-6 teams that are in the mix for the tournament.
Yeah, they can kind of have the setup where as long as they don't drop any to the bottom four, that Wyoming, Fresno, San Jose State, Air Force, if everybody takes care of business, you're going to have resumes that are in the mix. And they keep doing this like it's not all home games, but like Boise State beating Clemson at home. These elevation teams take care of business there, and then that sets up for every win's a good win in league play if you beat anybody in the top five.
Mm-hmm. Smart.
I would agree. Mountain West has been, I think, collectively more impressive. However, I will say the two new additions to the WCC from the Pac-12, Washington State and Oregon State, have looked relatively terrific.
Wazoo's looked pretty good. Yeah.
If they had hung on against Iowa, they led that game for most of it.
I know I
that
had
was,
it. I feel like
that would have been a
they
big one.
looked like the better team. But there's some dead weight there at the WCC. We got to clean that up. Yeah, a quick hat tip to some of the big wins. Theme here, many of them coming at home or near home. Purdue, Wisconsin, the two Big Ten, with monster wins over Arizona and Alabama, respectively. A very clear pace battle. The home team, generally not a racetrack type of pace, but they just made shots. And honestly, both those games actually played pretty fast. It was like the home team who you would think with conventionally wouldn't play as fast as Alabama or Arizona did and scored at will. I mean, the numbers efficiency wise were off the charts in both those games.
Wisconsin, a 40-point scorer. They scored 103 points. That never happens for the Badgers. I think it was the first time a Big Ten school had scored 100 points against a top 10 opponent non-conference in a long
Yeah, right.
time. I can't remember exactly what the stat was, but I believe there were 87 free throws in that game, which helped the pace. Neither
Yeah.
team could defend without fouling. I had a friend that was in the house, and he was just like, "Yeah, this game's going to take 3 hours," which kind of sucked.
I will say that Arizona with the response was impressive. I gave them some credit for that. They came back and like tied the game, I think. First road game, I give them a little bit of a credit for that. I know Tommy Lloyd's probably, a little bit annoyed by that, but and then Texas A&M, who basically had the hangover of all hangovers last night, down 15 in the first half to Southern, though they won the second half by 30. So disaster avoided. But yeah, huge one for the Aggies to knock off a very talented Ohio State team. Marquette with the big one over Purdue just before Purdue handed Bama their loss. And then Michigan.
It was after.
Oh, sorry, after. My timeline's all messed up. That's right.
Marquette won at Maryland too. Marquette had a huge week. Cam Jones.
Marquette just looks good. Yeah, I mean, Cam Jones, we'll get to him in a second. He has 2 triple doubles this year. His
just
most
one.
recent one.
Just one.
I thought he had one against Maryland too.
It's the first triple double since Dwayne Wade in 03 for
yes.
Marquette.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, good player, good company. I actually watched both games. I thought Cam Jones was even better in the Maryland game than he was against Purdue, and he was awesome in both. So,
he kind of took different roles. More of a scorer against Maryland.
Yes.
More distributor against Purdue. He did miss 2 free throws down the stretch against Maryland that almost cost them the game.
They did almost, yeah, that's fine.
But he made up for it. He made up for it. And Stevie Mitchell, a worthy Robin to his Batman. He's been amazing so far this year.
We do want to call out some bad losses. There weren't too many this week, though. Like there were a couple of close calls, like Northwestern at home against Eastern Illinois. I had to get to overtime to win that one.
Northwestern at home against Montana State.
That's right. They almost lost Montana State the next day. Yeah. Northwestern looks like the old Northwestern when they kind of downgraded talent. And obviously Brooks Barnheiser being hurt has not helped matters there. Right. But life without Boo Buie is much less fun and dynamic and exciting. And
Barnheiser had 20 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and his return almost lost to Montana State. So we'll see. We'll see with
the Bobkittens.
Yep.
Boys of Bozeman. Nice team up there.
They're fun to bet on. Tell you what, they're fun to bet on.
They are feisty.
They're covering. Yes.
Okay. Before we get to,
we should mention Kansas State, Matt, like barely squeaking by Mississippi
I know
Valley.
they
were up by
won
2 at halftime.
That was bad.
But
the Delta Devils also led Texas. They led
points.
Texas by 2 at 10 to go in the first half, Jim. So maybe it's a Delta Devils.
Texas
story.
won by 44 or something like that.
Yeah, they figured it out. Matt, if you're going to keep doing this, it's just going to turn into a wow, Mizzou must be amazing argument because they whomped the Delta Devils.
I still believe in your Mizzou Tiger. I know you guys have already jumped off the bandwagon. You're all calling for heads to roll. I think the Mizzou Tiger will be just fine. Give a little bit of time to bake. You'll be fine.
Hope you're right.
But yeah, K-State, I feel, of all the power programs not named like Villanova, it feels like that's the one where you have sort of the most disgruntled start to the year, even though there really hasn't been much of a, like they still haven't lost, right? So,
yeah, we'll get to at least 1 or 2 of those teams, but like there's a few power conference teams with no losses at all or bad losses, like your Providence, your Syracuse, like you're not really showing me anything yet, and maybe that'll change when you get into the bigger opponents, but typically you are who you show us you are, and some of these teams aren't showing us all that much.
K-State got smashed by LSU, to be fair, Matt, at home.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, at home. So yes, they have. They're already the hurts already starting to be felt there. Before we talk about all the MTEs and the feast week, we have another sponsor, Home Field Apparel. Kai.
Home Field Apparel, yes, our loving sponsor for many years now at 3 Men Weave. Home Field makes premium collegiate apparel for schools of all sizes. The big boys, the small boys, the D3 schools, the Colorado School of Mines type of schools. They dig through years of archives of each school, understanding the fan base. They make thoughtful designs. They don't just put a normal logo or a name on the shirt without any thought. They really make it personal for your particular school. The comfy tees are so comfy. They're made on wonderful material. I don't even know what the material is. I assume it's cotton, but it feels like heaven. It's wonderful wearing my Home Field gear. I have so many t-shirts and hoodies now and I'm getting into the hat game a little bit, or at least I'm looking at it. Home field has a ton of hats rolling out recently. Dad hats, different style hats, snapbacks. It's crazy that the breadth of their products right now. Joggers as well. I'm actually wearing Home Field Missouri joggers currently, so I'm a good sponsored podcast host right now. They are located in Indiana, which makes a lot of sense because Indiana is the home of college basketball. We're a college basketball podcast. Home Field Apparel is a perfect sponsor for us, and we love Home Field Apparel. Go to their website, homefieldapparel.com. Shop your favorite school or any other school in the world, mostly. If they don't have your school, just tweet at them, Homefield APPARL. Tell them to get your school on a shirt. You can get 15% off your first order using our promo code 3MW. Again, that's homefieldapparel.com. Promo code 3MW. Homefield, wear one for the team.
Love it. Also, Kai, Indiana, the home of really good football teams, about to be crashing
Apparently,
the
yeah.
football playoff.
Apparently,
yeah, so that's cool too.
Well, hey, yeah, you get your digs in now. We'll see how you do against Ohio State, Matthew.
Man, a lot of Twitter. God, people just, we'll see. We will see. Sorry, I'm multitasking here, which I'm bad at. Let's talk Feast Week. And again, quick shouts to Chris Daubertine. Am I saying his name right?
I think so.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah, he does a blogging the bracket website where he lists out all these events all throughout the year. He does it all throughout the off season. Super helpful tool, like just understanding these schedules. And half these MTEs, like the websites don't give you clear scheduling or bracketing dates or locations. Like they're very convoluted. So he puts it all in place and he makes it more clear to understand than half the actual spot or, host sites. So thanks to him. We'll kind of go through in chronological order and importance of tournament, I would say. So again, we'll talk about all these teams, key matchups, but generally, if we just have thoughts on teams, reactions to teams, let's do that as we go through. So we don't need to break down all the hypothetical matchups for some of these, but the ones that start today, Charleston Classic, my personal favorite. I plan to go next year. That is a
Really?
to-do for me. So yeah,
Patty loves Charleston.
I like
Low
that city,
country.
man. I'm a low country man. I could, if I get 50 and we hit a few more of these parlays, Kai, that's where I might be saddling up long term.
Wait, Matt, is it next year that it is? I can't remember if it's this one or Myrtle that goes down to 4 teams, which would be a.
Myrtle, I think, is condensing. Myrtle is the one at Coastal, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
which is
Coastal,
not really
yes.
Myrtle Beach.
Right. It's kind of a misleading because they always show like the Myrtle Beach like skyline and then they go to like Coastal Carolina. I know they're close, but whatever. But Charleston's always good. Early starts, fun. I love that gym. I think like in terms of like gym venue backgrounds, the Charleston gym is a really solid setup there. So Miami, VCU, Nevada, Drake, Oklahoma State, FAU, Vanderbilt, Seton Hall. So strong field, but I think a lot of like have a lot to prove is sort of the themes of the teams. Oklahoma State, Seton Hall, Vanderbilt, and you kind of have FAU and VCU and Drake sort of as the come up here, and then Miami's still kind of the. So it's a good field. It's a competitive field. Thoughts on any of these teams? Kai, I think Nevada and VCU are the two that have we haven't talked about these two teams, but they've both been wildly impressive just in general.
This is an awesome field. Like every single team is good. Even Oklahoma State, I think is not a bad team. But yeah, I've loved Drake this year. I think FAU is awesome. Okay, Seton Hall has not looked great, but their defense is good. Vanderbilt is better than I expected. We talked about Nevada earlier. Yeah, VCU. VCU is getting no press right now in the media because they're an A10 team. I don't think they've really played many good teams, but man, they are very, very good. They could be like top 25 good. Very curious to see how they do in this MTE. Miami Drake is going to be a really fun game. I'm excited to see Ben McCollum as a true dog in a game instead of like a short favorite or a decent sized favorite. I want to see him muck it up and take down this way more talented Cane squad. But Jim, I bet he keeps it close. I'm very curious to watch.
I've got scars, Kai, from Miami versus Drake on a neutral site.
I know.
Going back to the 2023 NCAA tournament, that one really hurt. Drake had that game won, but now it's a new era, of course, for the Bulldogs. Yeah, VCU snuck under the radar a little bit so far this year just because they haven't played like the marquee game, but they demolished Boston College as you'd expect an NCAA tournament team to do. But Matt, your boy Jack Clark has been such a fantastic addition for them. He's been amazing to start the year. They don't even have Zeb Jackson yet, and they still look terrific.
They don't need Zeb Jackson. That's my hot take.
Yeah, the VCU I think is the best team in the A10, even when Robbie Avila gets healthy, riding with the Rams. And as we mentioned in the Mountain West section earlier, yeah, Nevada's been arguably the best team in the Mountain West. So you've got some teams that have shown they're pretty good so far. And now you're going to throw a bunch of relatively evenly matched teams into the mix here. I think it's going to be 3 good days down in Charleston, Matt. This should have been the year you went, you silly goose.
I know you have. I mean, the upstart coaches of Drake with McCollum, Oklahoma State with Lutz, FAU with Jacobs, and Vandy with Byington. I mean, that alone is worth the price of admission. So tough draw for Seton Hall, who needs to get healthy and learn how to score. But they're probably won't get. They're sort of like the new Wisconsin with the way they're playing right now. I don't think they'll get blown out by anybody, but they're probably not going to beat anybody by more than 5 points. So that's sort of the black sheep of that field. Let's go to Myrtle Beach, not so far away. Some dominant mid majors in this field. I think this is more true high caliber mid majors as opposed to like the high power hybrid majors of the Charleston. Bradley, Princeton are the clear favorites. Ohio, Middle Tennessee, South Florida, Portland, Texas State, Wright State is where it drops off a little bit, Kai. I think Princeton is maybe the story here for me. Like good start, but underwhelming start, I would say. And Ohio is also in that same ilk as well. I think 2 teams that I picked to win the league pretty convincingly. And I think they both look vulnerable-ish to start the year.
Ohio's not been impressive whatsoever thus far. And yeah, Princeton has shown a lot of warts too. They're not a deep team. Not nearly as good as I was expecting. Hey, Bradley got smoked by Wazoo. I think Bradley coming into the year and still to a certain extent was head and shoulders above the rest of the Missouri Valley.
I agree.
I think they win this tournament. I'll probably go with Bradley if I had to choose a champion. But again, it's going to be a really intriguing one. It's not a bad tourney. Portland has stuck with Oregon. Wright State's looked a little better than I expected as well under a new coach. Middle Tennessee has looked decent. It's going to be a fun little minor tournament, Jim, compared to the Charleston.
That's a great point. We should bring up the Oregon overtime Portland game, Kai. Like, for as much as we love Oregon, and I know Big Ten people are probably sick of us hyping up Oregon, we should acknowledge the fact that they did go to overtime with a bad Portland team. So
Portland compete next game too. I don't know. Yeah.
I think maybe the aberration was the Portland gets demolished at home by UC Santa Barbara. UC Santa Barbara lost at home to UTEP last night, down by double digits, basically the entire second half.
Wow.
So yeah, that one's looking a little strange in hindsight, but yeah, to me it's Bradley. I just think they're the team that has an identity right now, more or less has figured out who they are. Like losing to Wazoo is not something I'm going to harangue them for. I think that's forgivable. And like you guys already mentioned, Princeton is not Princeton right now. They have no depth. Devin Austin being away from teams really hurt them. And I think teams are finding, like Matt, you said it, a little bit easier way to score against that kind of small ball defense. They've solved it a little bit more. The offense is still terrific. Lee and Pierce are lethal, but yeah, I'm going Bradley. Did we all pick one in the Charleston Classic?
I'm gonna go VCU.
I'm gonna go VCU as well. I think that's the right pick.
All right, I'll go Nevada then.
That's the wrong.
No, you know what?
No,
I'll take it back. I'll go with 3-point sniper in the chat. Say Vandy goes on.
How have Mountain West teams done in MTEs? I'm trying to think about that. I feel like is there a
question? I think good enough because they always put so many teams in the tournament. But yeah, I definitely picture them as more like they're better at home type squads.
I think Boise played in this 2 years ago, right? I want to say. I need to check on that. Anyway, probably not relevant. So Charleston, I agree. So Myrtle, I'm going to go with. I kind of like Middle Tennessee. I think that team is. I'm calling this field the get right field, Kai, because there's a lot of teams that I think need this tournament to kind of get back to where they were going. And Middle Tennessee, after getting blown out by their rival at home in Murray, I'm going with the Blue Raiders.
You're going with Blue Raiders to win the tournament.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's a really interesting pick.
Yeah, I can make some bold predictions. I'm gonna go old chalk today. I'm gonna try and pick some bold predictions. All right, let's talk about the big boys. We're going to Island time for the Maui Jim Root Maui Invitational, as it's being coined this season. I mean, you want a field, Kai. Here's some names: UConn, Auburn, Iowa State, North Carolina, Memphis, Colorado, Michigan State, and Dayton.
It's a good field.
Very good field. The worst team is
The worst team in
Colorado?
this field is Colorado. Yes.
Yeah, it is. It
Yes.
is. The second worst team is
Dayton.
I think
Prob-
it's Dayton. I'm higher
Probably
on Dayton,
Dayton.
Jim. I was gonna almost push back on your VCU take earlier. I am a little bit higher on Dayton than I thought I would
Oh,
be.
let's board
Um,
bet. Let's board
board
bet
bet.
something.
I don't know if I can go all the way board bet there, but I
How
do
about
think Dayton
this?
is
I'll board bet you A10 standings and Ken Palm. They have to be better in both.
okay.
If Dayton's
I don't
better in
hate
either
this.
one, you win the board bet.
Okay. I'm not a I'm here. Okay. I'm yes.
Just trying to
Yes.
bully him into it. Yeah.
I was trying to
Make
think
him
to
an
like
offer he
You're
can't
you're
refuse.
allowed to think both teams are good, Matt. Like
I know,
it's
but
okay to think VC is a little better than Dayton and still like Dayton a lot.
I know. I guess I was hoping the world would think Dayton is like, an afterthought and I would be like, haha, look, Dayton's still good.
Told you.
But yeah, I think like
Anyway,
SLU's the third best team in that conference this year. So as much hype as that squad. Anyway, I think the big story here for me personally is the UConn story. They've played no one. And what are they? Who are they? How dominant are they, Kai? I think still very good. But like, gun to your head, I mean, I think you think Auburn's probably the better team right now. Maybe you're right. Would you say Iowa State's the better team right now? I think that's sort of the how good is UConn? What's UConn going to do with a target on their back in a new era of what they are?
I got a kick out of Danny Hurley. Like he was mad that UConn didn't look very good against Texas A&M Commerce or East Texas A&M. They won by 35. Yeah, UConn has played like 3 or 4 bottom 20, 30
Literally
teams in
bottom
the
10
country.
teams. Very
They
impressive.
have the
Yeah.
second worst strength of schedule in the country right now, 363rd.
Yeah, and it's going to get better clearly, but a weird start for Hurley. And I mean, you can't tell anything about. I think UConn's really good. We saw some exhibition games, right? I think they're incredible. I think Auburn is a little bit better right now. I would put Auburn a slight favorite on neutral. I would not say Iowa State's better currently, but I would say Auburn wins this. They have UConn's got the much better draw here, Jim, in the Maui bracket, right? Auburn has to play Iowa State. It's kind of like a little unfair matchup. Two top 10, 5-ish teams.
Yeah, one of those
Yeah.
teams on the losers side of the bracket is dumb. That's just terrible bracketing. I don't know how you looked at the teams this year and made it this way. Tom Izzo's the one who got away with murder, getting to play Colorado in the first round on the UConn side. I don't know how that happened. Congrats to Sparty for getting that. But yeah, that bottom half is insane with UNC, Auburn, Iowa State all there. And even Memphis is kind of could play spoiler, right? Or not Memphis. Who does UNC have in the first round?
UNC plays Dayton first round.
Dayton. Okay. So I think UNC will be fine there. But yeah, when there's this is Matt, it's sad for me to say this, but when there's no Chaminade, there's just a little extra juice to this tournament because there's no pushover game. Even Colorado's going to be, I think, feisty. They're not going to be Louisville of a couple of years ago when they just get shellacked in every game.
Yeah.
I am just most happy we're going to see games in the Civic Center again because how long has
Yes.
it been? We had Maui Asheville, we had Maui Vegas, we had the fires. It's been a while since we've gotten like the true Maui Invitational in Lahaina Civic Center, more or less normal, and it's gonna be fantastic, Matt. Warms my heart.
My
My
pick
pick
to
is
win
my-
it, Jim.
My pick is UConn because of the draw.
I might go Memphis. No, I'm not gonna go Memphis. I'm just you got to go with Auburn, or it just feels dumb not going against those big three.
Yeah,
but I do.
I'll go
it's
Auburn. I
worth
don't.
noting that. Okay, go.
Sorry, I don't think UConn's gonna have any issue with Memphis whatsoever.
It worth noting that UNC and Memphis playing at San Francisco tonight as sort of a transition tune-up to going to West Coast, and then UNC playing on the island beforehand. Something that Hubert Davis said that they used to always do, I guess, when Dean Smith and
A different
and Rowe
island,
there.
but
So
island
yeah.
nonetheless.
Yeah. We'll see how that plays out. UNC is still of a team I'm a little bit, I think we kind of know what they are, but we will find out what they are with certainty against big boys here in this one. Let's go Battle for Atlantis next. I want to continue with the classics and we'll talk about the weird players era third, debunking the outline ordering here. So the favorites at Atlantis are Gonzaga and Arizona, which is so fun. The Lloyd Mark Few thing is great. And you have Indiana and Louisville. I mean, just red blood programs. West Virginia, Providence, Oklahoma, Davidson round out the field. Not sure how Davidson's stuck in there, but they're feisty this year. They could be competitive. This is a very clear top two. and then Louisville, Indiana. Indiana's probably better than Louisville, and then like West Virginia, Providence, OU, and Davidson. We don't really know what they are, you know. Um, and hopefully we get Gonzaga, Arizona in the finals. Kai, what's your thoughts on this field and teams within?
I think it's a solid field, way less intriguing than Maui. West Virginia, they smoked Iona, but they're not there yet. They got killed by Pitt. Providence has looked brutal this season to start off. I think they lose to Oklahoma. That'll be their first round matchup. Davidson is solid. I think this season, like top 5-ish good in the A10. I don't think Arizona will have an issue with them though, and Gonzaga. I just don't think anyone is stopping Gonzaga. They look like a freight train right now. The best first round matchup is Louisville, Indiana. I'm very intrigued by that one to see the Pat Kelsey go against an IU squad that's looked very good this year, has a ton of size. I'm very intrigued to see what Woodson has up his sleeve. Will he get tricked like Kenny Payne got tricked against him earlier last season? But I think Gonzaga, Jim, is the pick.
Yep, Gonzaga's my pick. I actually bet on them in the preseason, so I am rooting for them financially. Go Zags. The odds have come down, so I hope that comes through. Most likely to play spoiler of that bottom four group, guys. I think Oklahoma beats Providence, Matthew.
Yeah, I agree.
And the
Totally agree.
Sooners are going to be a little bit of a tough out for Arizona in that second round. But yeah, it's Gonzaga for me. I really hope we get the Tommy Lloyd Mark Few game. I think both coaches are like, I don't really want to go against my guy, but the styles would just make for such a fun championship game.
Yep.
You'd get way up and down in that ballroom. I kind of wish like that feels like a Maui game to me. Play that on Maui rims and
Yeah.
have it be 100 to 95, but it'll still be good in the darkly lit Atlantis ballroom. And yeah, Gonzaga over Arizona, despite my Oklahoma love. That's my pick. Who's winning the Louisville, Indiana game, Matt?
Indiana.
Wow.
Okay.
You
Emphatic.
love Louisville.
Very quick.
I cooled on Louisville so fast. Like, I mean, they're still very good, but like the Tennessee game and then I don't know, listen to Kelsey talk. I think that was like a very humbling moment for me. And I need to sort of flick my battle wounds of Louisville love and see a little bit of punch against a big guy before I get back on the bandwagon guy. I'm
Yeah.
still like
They were
1 foot
banged
on the
up, too.
bandwagon, but that was tough.
Louisville a little banged up too. Corin Johnson,
Yes.
Traore missed last game. Traore's out for a little while. Indiana might have the better depth. So yeah,
I mean,
I
up
actually
front,
think Indiana wins.
that's
too.
what I worry about is I just think that up front they're going to be way too physical for Louisville, especially without. I mean, not Traore's not a big guy, but I think his defensive presence and athleticism matter. But that's maybe I think the most. I think I'm actually looking forward to Atlantis almost as much as Maui. Frankly, maybe that's just selfish because Indiana's in it. But
that is.
We'll see.
I can't abide by that. I just can't wait to see the Civic Center court, the gym, the rims.
I hope Dayton has a
home.
run, Jim. Dayton deserves a moment like you saw when you're there in person. I hope they come out guns blazing and the Flyer faithful are going crazy and they're making shots.
I'm certain that they will be there in numbers. That fan base travels and is loud.
Yep.
And by loud, you know how I'm spelling it, Dayton fans. You know how I'm spelling it.
Kai, the Players Era MTE.
Yes. What is this format?
It's the dumbest format
There's
of
two
all
groups?
time.
I wanted to Kai's
There's two
thought.
groups, but they don't play full World Cup style group play because each team misses one of the opponents. So there's a chance like 2 teams could go or 3 teams could go 1-1, and you have to tie break to get to the championship.
Okay.
It's dumb. It's the most obvious money grab, shrug, whatever. We'll figure it out. They had to do some format change to dodge an NCAA rule, I think.
This is the NIL, correct? This is like the NIL prize.
Yep. Everybody gets $1 million, and the winner gets another $1 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
A fun group of teams. I don't know who's playing who, but Houston is still my best team in the country. I know they're getting overlooked right now.
Wait, so A&M, Texas A&M plays Oregon on day 1.
Okay. Oof,
Wrong.
tough one for our Ducks.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, actually they do.
And San Diego State plays Creighton. I think Creighton kind of smacks them personally, but we'll see.
I don't think they
it's a fun
smack
rematch.
them.
The old Elite Eight game
for
San Diego State going to the Final Four in that one.
Houston, Alabama. Okay. Now they play each other. That'll be interesting.
I mean, Rutgers Notre Dame will be good too. No, it's a great field. I mean, Houston, Alabama, obviously. Yeah, I mean, it's a good field. Run by, I believe, the guy who started the AN1 basketball brand. I think the founder of that. Great t-shirts. Good documentary that kind of chronicles their rise and fall on Netflix, I think. I think he's a controversial guy, but pretty smart guy. So I think he's the one that's running this thing. So
I
fun
like
facts for
the
no one.
two. I didn't realize this. It's mostly on TBS, TNT, Turner, but then day 2 of Oregon versus San Diego State, Texas A&M versus Creighton is on Max, the HBO app,
Huh, interesting.
which is wild. So
And
yeah,
then
pay up.
and then how about True TV getting some coverage on the 5th and 6th place game, 7th, 8th place, little True TV. Yeah, so they're really getting. I mean, that was a full network spam by the players era. Good for
That
them.
Gonna
Yes.
have to clear the Practical Jokers lineup, Matthew, for a couple
That's
games there
right.
on Saturday. But the Impractical Jokers, yes.
over under 5.5 and 1 players you can name.
I think I'll go
Under.
over 5.
Okay.
Hot Sauce, Professor,
Ooh.
Escalate, Cadillac, Escalate,
So it's Escalade, not Cadillac.
Escalade.
Skip to my Lou.
Skip to my Lou.
Jim's helping you, but okay.
That's the only one I knew, so I had to get it in there. Kai's probably got like 12 more in his head.
AO.
Who was that over AO?
He's awesome. I don't know if I can name one more, actually.
Okay, documentary is really good.
Is there a hurricane? Is there a hurricane?
No, because remember I was inspired by somebody else. I don't remember who I was
Yeah.
my inspo. Me and Kai were on like a
Team
I
Silk.
can't even describe how stupid of a concept it was. It was basically an N1
Club.
copycat thing
Club
we
in middle
performed
school.
at assemblies in middle school. So
Team Silk.
Team
I forgot
Silk.
you guys
what we were
actually
called.
performed.
We performed.
Yes. Yes.
Released
Jim,
the
I was
tapes.
more nervous walking
Released
out for
the
those
tapes.
shows than I was any high school basketball game. I can assure you that pressure prepared me for
Super
the
embarrassing.
pressure
looking
cooker
back
of life.
on it.
It was.
Okay. Well, basically, what I say the format is stupid here is if let's say Creighton beats San Diego State, and then Creighton loses to Texas A&M, Texas A&M loses to Oregon, and then Oregon loses to San Diego State. What if all 4 teams go 1-1, and then it's like how do we rank
differential?
them 1 through 4? Yeah, that's just dumb. That's so stupid.
It is
For
dumb.
you have to play everybody or not play or do an actual tournament format. So I don't like the format. I love the teams. I will pick Houston to win.
All right, let's talk about some of the other Paradise tournaments. First, the alliterative duo, the Boardwalk Battle and the Sunshine Slam, which is not mentioned, I think, here in the out. Those are both run by the same company. Those are both in Daytona, where I believe the CBI was held last year and has been held, I think. So Boardwalk Battle, James Madison, UIC, LaSalle, UC San Diego, East Carolina, Jack State, Toledo, Stetson. Like some good majors in that one. And the Sunshine Slam as well. So I don't any thoughts on any of those teams there. I mean, I thought that was one of the more like good mid-major, fun mid-major stories. Like UIC, like, whoa, they might be good under Rob Eason. Like LaSalle, whoa, they might be really good this year under Fran Dunphy. James Madison, I know sort of a herky-jerky start, but it might be, Toledo's Toledo. So that one's interesting. Mid-major junkies.
I still have a pure 8-teamer. I'm glad that's still out there. I'm picking Toledo rocket ships, Matthew. My James Madison Dukes aren't quite there yet. But I think Toledo's got a nice draw, and I think they're even better than I thought they would be. Surprise, surprise, old Kowalczyk.
And this one does start today, by the way. I actually kind of like East Carolina to win this one. My Pirates. Arr.
You're a huge East Carolina guy.
I didn't think I was, and I watched them. I'm like, I kind of like this team. They're not fun to watch. I think they're effective in the way they play. Just very, very physical.
I thought of one more and one guy, air up there. So we got over 5.5.
Air up there, nice.
Okay, so UIC, yes, Matt, I agree. I think they might be for real. I am intrigued by the matchup. I'm going UC San Diego to get past LaSalle and ultimately take this tournament. I'm high on this team, at least in the preseason I was.
And the Paradise Jam, U.S. Virgin Islands. This one's interesting too. I think would be like a top 3 one I would go check out in my tour day MTEs. Good field as well. UAB and McNeese are kind of the 2 heavy hitters here. And Liberty's in there as well. In terms of, I'll get to K-State in a second. But UAB, McNeese, like big time mid-major programs with big expectations this season. And frankly, haven't looked like the juggernauts that we sort of thought to start the year. Liberty's been really good. We saw them in the showcase. And then Kansas State sort of snuck in that field as well with George Washington. I feel like Kansas State fans are probably pissed that they're not playing in one of the true big boys, and they're kind of stuck with like a mid-major superstar field. But they haven't proven this year that they belong in that kind of field. So put up or shut up, Jerome Tang and co.
They don't win it.
Yeah, it's a minefield. I don't think they win it either. Give me Liberty, baby. The Flames. I think they're so good this year.
I agree.
Their actual size in that system is scary for Richie McKay.
It took McKay 1 year to adjust to we're not a low major, we're now like a real program, and the size and the talent looks like a team of such. So I agree. The Cayman Islands, eh. Hampton, Boise, South Dakota State, the Jack Bunnies, who just beat Southern Miss by a bajillion.
Yeah,
Duquesne, first year
Drew
under
Joyce.
Drew
True
Joyce.
choice.
Not super impressed if I'm going to be real honest about it. Missouri State, Kai, your bear. Well, I should say my Bears, but the Bears that you said weren't going to be so terrible. They have not been so terrible.
Yeah, I walked
And
that
then
back a little bit. I should have stuck to my guns. So now I'm
you
going
should have.
back to my original. Ha! I told you they'll be seventh in the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, there you go.
Cohanzo, Martin, and the boys. But the story here is High Point, Jim. Like Old Dominion, Boston College, okay, whatever. But High Point's the story here. I think for people that haven't seen this team play, this is like
Yep.
awesome mid-major. Everyone runs it back. They should dominate their league. They're the real chance to win a game or two in the tournament. So that's who you're watching if you're watching the Cayman Field.
Yeah, Old Dominion's really bad, so
Yeah.
don't watch them. Boise is the heavy favorite, but I think High Point should be right there with them. I know they've got some injuries. Kezujifa missed last game because he got smacked in the
Yes.
face. I hope he's going to be fine for this. I don't know if he'll have to wear a mask or whatever, but the crazy part of High Point is they just have depth, depth, depth. Like they have 13 guys that can play at the mid-major level. You miss a couple of them, they still can go 9 deep. High Point Boise will hopefully be the final, and I will go with the Panthers to pull it off. Mr. Huss making a name for himself.
I would love to see that. I'll probably go with Boise, but I would love to see High Point take them down. I love this team. Love the Panthers.
Yeah, that's the matchup we want is Boise High Point. And again, another Mountain West team in a very important field that needs to do well if that conference wants to get 3-4 bids this season. All right, some 4-teamers here, which I like because they're just easy to keep track of, but they're not really as fun, I guess, to follow from start to finish.
Because they don't provide the day ball that we love, Matthew.
Yeah, exactly. Like the 10 a.m. tip where it's like, oh, that game's at halftime. No one told me that. Like, I guess I'll bet that now. The Baja Mart in the Bahamas, not to be confused with the Battle for Atlantis. But it is also in a ballroom, so it does confuse me from time to time. It's not as like you don't have like the rave background going, but it's a very weird setup. I don't like it, I'll be honest. But Baylor St. John's will be a fun basketball game for sure. Tennessee Virginia will not be as fun, but Baylor St. John's will be much more fun.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. I think the Baylor zone could come quite in handy here, Matthew. They've been using it a bunch lately. St. John's feels like the kind of team you want to zone, although
Yep.
we just talked about the offensive rebounding. I actually think both teams are going to eat on the glass in that game, but excited for it. I think Baylor's having tested themselves a little more so far is going to pay off there.
Yeah.
St. John's is their first game outside of Madison Square Garden / Carnesecca Arena. I think Baylor wins, then Tennessee, Virginia. Yeah, Tennessee is going to take care of business. And give me St. John's winning the other side, Kai, and I will go with Baylor over Tennessee in the finale.
I'm going Tennessee to win this. I'll go St. John's, though, over Baylor. Yes.
I agree, Kai.
Ooh.
I'm in on the Storm. I'm in.
I am too.
This is wild. I feel like I'm always the St. John's big believer.
Yeah, I just watched the New Mexico game. Like, this team's really good.
You know, my brother brought up a good point there. Why it's like when St. John's plays a team that can actually like rebound, like what are they? You could see them looking really bad. Like they don't have like an alternative route to score. We'll see. I think this is a game where they can certainly dominate the glass. So that won't be answered in this matchup whether they go zone or man. I think St. John's grabs 15 offensive rebounds, but the Tennessee game could be interesting. If
My guy Matthew, freshman point guard Rob Wright on Baylor. He's awesome.
He's looked great.
He's playing like 25 minutes a game because like, oh yeah, he's the only pure point guard, and he's a huge, like, I think he's 23 assists, 7 turnovers, like big time playmaker, great ratio against a really good schedule already that they've played. He's arguably been better than Edgecombe so far. I don't think that'll be the case long term, but they're getting a ton from the freshmen. Both those guys are fantastic.
I think I was gonna say Alabama too. We talked about Kai's boy,
Phylon.
Thank you. Helping out there because I think like Latrell Wrightsell for Bama and Langston Love for Baylor, like two of my favorite glue guy guards that are just very underrated. So the fact that Love's been out and you have some freshmen stepping up there is pretty huge for the Bears. The West, this is in San Diego now. The Rady Children's Invitational, another 14-teamer. Purdue versus NC State, BYU versus Ole Miss. This is actually on
Final
the UC San Diego
rematch?
campus. Yes.
God.
NC State's.
Try to put
I
that
think I
out
hope
of my
Purdue
mind.
smacks them. I know. I hope Purdue smacks them. I really do.
Purdue's going to
I
smack
really do.
Smack him.
I don't know. I
Yes.
think it's
BYU's
kind
gonna
of
beat Ole
close-ish.
Man.
I don't agree with that. I think Ole Miss wins. I think Ole Miss is for real.
I agree.
I'm with
I think
I'm with
BYU is
Kai.
for real too, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm going with Kai. I think the Cougars win. I think they win the event. They beat Purdue, and I think Purdue smacks NC State, beats them by 15.
I think Purdue and BYU are fast. Those are two younger teams relatively, right? No one's really that young today, but I think those are the two younger teams against kind of the older NC State, Ole Miss, more fourth, fifth year dudes.
Yeah,
We'll
Ole
see if
Miss's
that
old
matters.
guys are like really good, and NC
And
State's
they're
old
good. Yeah.
guys are kind
Yeah.
of
That's
like,
true.
yeah, I'm just getting a degree.
Oh,
NC State, yeah, I have them sort of on fraud watch this season.
There,
But
I don't even
why
think
not?
people are disagreeing with you.
And then the Greenbrier part two. So this was sort of the MTE that had the shotgun start last weekend at that private resort in West Virginia, VMI and UT Rio Grande Valley. I'm sure all you tuned into that on a
I mean, it was
private,
hard to tune in. I hope
yeah, it
that
was a
the
private
TV
feed.
coverage, the streaming coverage feed is way better for these teams. That's my
Some of
hope.
these MTEs are going to be bad. It's like it's going to be behind the paywall stuff. But Pitt, LSU, Wisconsin, UCF. Let's talk about Pitt real quick. I think Pitt, LSU, let's Pitt and LSU both. Two like kind of stuck in the middle of big, deep leagues. Thought they'd be good, probably, but not great. And so far, they both look close to great. Pitt, especially LSU, kind of messed around with some bad competition, but they always do that. I mean, Pitt's just like a different animal right now. I don't know how they're maybe better than last year, but right now I'm inclined to say that they are better than last year.
Yeah, I need
I think they
more.
are better than last year.
Yeah, I need more. I understand they're 5-0, and like I think they're 5-0 against the spread as well. They're not a top 15 team in the country. That's they're ranked right now in KenPom. I don't buy that for a second.
I think they might be top 25. I'm going to give them
I
that.
think I
Lowe has
top
kind of made that
25.
star turn. They've got
Maybe they haven't
size.
played anybody.
Uh,
It's not, I don't know.
yeah, that's true. I'm just saying I'm buying it. I'm like, I see the performances and I don't think it's fluky, fraudy. Again, I look back and I reminded myself Blake Hinson was in the first percentile of net rating last year. Like they were way better with him off the floor. Like potentially Ewing theory. They get a lot better defensively when you play Zach Austin in that spot over Hinson. They've got enough dynamism in the backcourt. I'm kind of buying it with Pitt, man. I think they might be number 3 in the ACC,
Yeah,
flirting with
Jim, I
number
got through
2.
last night. I think they're
Okay.
third. Jalen Lowe, I told you about him. Continue to track. He's amazing. The Legends Classic, Syracuse, Texas, St. Joe's, Texas Tech.
That's today.
That's today as well. Syracuse, Texas is fascinating because I think it's neither one of those teams you trust, but you both think have talent and upside. That could be a wild game. And then St. Joe, Texas Tech. As much as I want to say Texas Tech will kill St. Joe's just out of pure gut instinct, you wonder how Texas Tech will respond to that zone that Billy Lang will inevitably throw. And, the Hawks, for as much as we make fun of Billy Lang, they usually play well against good teams.
Mhm.
Like that's
play
kind of
up.
the thing that they do.
Yep.
Yes.
Ton of talent.
Exactly.
I think both teams keep it close. Actually, I think Syracuse kind of like wakes up from their malaise a bit and keeps this one close. 'Cause it's in New York, and I don't think they're like 11, 10 points worse than Texas. So I think both teams kind of keep it close-ish.
Yeah, I would agree. Syracuse defense has been horrific against good executing mid majors. I think their defense can look a little better against Texas's not
Yeah.
as refined scheme. Tremont Mark still a question mark there for for the Longhorns. Not sure if he's going to be back. He's getting close per reports. But yeah, Matt, I'm with you. I'm in love head over heels with Texas Tech, but I'm also thinking, God, that rat St. Joe's team is going to compete there.
Yep.
Make that a game. People are gonna be like, maybe Texas Tech isn't actually that good. It's going to bug me. But I still think Texas Tech is top 12 good in the country. I'll say 12. And yeah, I think Syracuse competes, as Kai said.
And the games are at Barclays in Brooklyn. Brooklyn, Kai.
good.
Where
It's a good accent.
Thank you. Better than Stanford.
Yes.
St. Joe's has played in this arena multiple times, right? Because the A10 tournament is at the Barclays, and
Yeah,
St.
Eric
Joe's
Reynolds
has had
went
good runs there.
bananas there last year.
Yes. So I don't know. Maybe that matters. Maybe it doesn't. Let's hit the ESPN Events Invitational, Minnesota, Wichita State, Florida, Wake Forest.
Formerly the Pyramid Scheme Classic.
Yes. This is now at Kiss Me, though. Is it always? I thought it was at Orlando.
That's the same thing.
Same thing. Yeah, that's right.
It's
like
on
summer
the
outside.
Wide World of Sports campus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Wake Forest, man, we were so excited for you, and we just haven't been lately. Well, we'll see if Forbes gets some of those rotations figured out there. But Florida, despite the all the off the court chaos, has been quietly cruising. And then Minnesota, Wichita State, I don't really have much interest in that game. Minnesota's banged up. Wichita State's better this year, but not like at the level of interest that I'm super
Hmm.
dialed in for.
I think
Maybe I
which
should be
I think
watching more
Wichita
Wichita
wins.
State.
Yeah, I think they beat them.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah, I think Wichita
Florida's going
beats
to win
them,
it.
but
Yeah.
I don't think that says a whole lot about how good Wichita is. I think Minnesota's just in a lot of trouble right now. They're banged up. The injuries have hurt, but they're also lacking in high level talent. And yeah, this one was made like Florida and Wake Forest wanted to guarantee that they got the matchup with each other. That's why it's bracketed this way, where there's a clear 1-2 against each other in the first round. But yeah, I think Florida kind of demolishes Wake. Florida looks like they have an identity. They know who they are. They're not
Yes.
even making threes, and they are like running away with games. Whereas Wake Forest just continues to like skate by game teams. I think the Gators prove that they're pretty legit here.
Next one, the Fort Myers, Michigan, Virginia Tech, South Carolina, Xavier. Virginia Tech's the story for me
They're
here. We
terrible.
thought they'd be
They're
bad.
really bad.
They look really bad, and it's just a bummer. It is. At home to
Is it?
Jacksonville, losing the bye game. It is a bummer. I like Mike Young. That's a
I
tough
love Mike
program.
Young.
Yeah. And they have no money, I
Sure,
don't
I
think,
like
going to
Mike
that
Young.
program. No one's going to the games. I saw that their home attendance is like way down. So yeah, it's tough. I don't know.
Yeah, I knew they'd be horrible. I'm fine with that. I like when my expectations meet reality, Matthew.
Okay, fair enough. Are we
How
backing on
horrible did
Xavier,
they
Jim?
end up? I want to ask Kai, how horrible did they
Okay.
end up? They're currently 126th in Ken Palm.
Bottom five power team, in my opinion. Maybe even like
But,
lower than that. So
like, are they going to be 180th in Ken Palm by the end
I'll
of the
say
year?
150.
150. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, the guard plays bad. It's a real problem. They don't have like any depth. Their highest usage guy is Lawal, who is a pogo stick,
He's
but not a
playing well.
scorer.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be your number one.
Yep.
I think Virginia
Matt, are
Tech
we
would be the
backing on
worst team in the
Xavier?
Big East. That's my take
I
there.
think I'm in on Xavier, Matt. I know they were a little dicey in their first couple bye games, but then they took care of business against Wake as they were supposed to do. And I just still believe in the roster and I believe in Sean Miller. So I think X is going to be just fine.
Xavier,
And
Michigan.
they win
Let's
this
do it,
event.
baby. Yeah, that'd be a great game.
Xavier,
Yeah, it's like
yes.
the round robin of Wake Forest, Michigan, Xavier hopefully gets completed in the finale of that.
The circle of suck.
Aw.
All right, we have two more venues, but four more tournaments because the Acrisure, Jim, and what do they do? Are they a pyramid scheme as well? They have they have
It
a
strikes me
convention center
as
in Palm Springs.
it's an insurance company.
Okay. Damn it. That's not fun. Well, yeah, I don't think that they have a very high approval rating right now, insurance companies. So yeah, we'll call it pyramid scheming just for convenience. Three separate fields, and a lot of like these MTEs sort of have nice, cute names for like the better field and the worst field. Like for example, in with the Cayman class, there's like the Riviera division and the Mine division, and the Riviera
Oh,
division is like
that's
good
Cancun.
teams.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the Cancun
and the
challenge.
Mine division just like, okay, I see what we did here. So the Acrisure Classic, USC St. Mary's, New Mexico, Arizona State. The Acrisure Invitational, TCU, Santa Clara, Washington, Colorado. And the Acrisure Holiday Invitational, SMU, Cal Baptist, Fresno, Wazoo. So the Holiday not quite as good, but a little more balanced than some of the other, I would say, discriminatory segmentation of the fields here. But yeah, let's start with the first one: USC St. Mary's, New Mexico, Arizona State. New Mexico, Arizona State both have played UCLA, kind of a common opponent there, both with neutral court experience so far this season. I think St. Mary's wins this, though. I just think they've been the most impressive with their freshmen, the way they can control the glass. Mitchell Sack.
You always come crawling back to St. Mary's. You always doubt them in the preseason. They're awesome. St. Mary's.
I'm correcting Matt. UCLA has not played. Who did you say they both played?
Oh, sorry. New Mexico's
Mexico.
played UCLA. Arizona State has not played UCLA.
Yes.
Sorry. Why did I think that?
I don't know. But yeah, St. Mary's, I think USC, who has not looked all that good, all that connected, that is a nightmare team to play. That's just going to execute and make you play as, I think St. Mary's is going to root canal them, like Matt said. I think we get better Donovan Dent, better New Mexico back across the country after that St. John's experiment. St. Mary's, New Mexico, the non-power conference teams in the title game of that one. And the Gales, crawling back to the Gales. They're rock solid. Morauskas has been a lot better, I guess, even than I thought. And
Yes.
the two-headed center monster, they just get every offensive rebound. Stud point guard in March Leonis. Yeah, it's St. Mary's for me.
It's funny. I looked at the New Mexico real quick. New Mexico Arizona State matchup. I think 3 weeks ago I would have said, "Oh my God, New Mexico's going to kill Arizona State." I just had this gut feeling that they'd be really good, and Arizona State would be sort of a ticking time bomb. But I know Arizona State struggled last night with Cal Poly, but I still think that team's much better than I thought they were. The freshmen are much more polished. They actually play a little more organization. Defensively, kind of out of sorts at times, but generally very impressed with Arizona State. Maybe I just had too low of expectations, but just a note there. TCU Santa Clara. Talk about two disappointing teams. I know Santa Clara just beat Riverside by 1,000,000 points, but I think we were wanting more kind of a get right game there. And then on the other side, Washington versus Colorado State. I don't really have a
Two
big
more
interest in
disappointing
either.
teams.
Yeah, I don't know if we had huge expectations for them though.
We were higher in
So
Washington
TCU
as collective. Yes.
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, they just haven't made any jump shots, but neither have their opponents. So it's not like they can totally use that as an excuse. Washington's just been kind of grimy, ugly games.
And
Uh,
Frank Kepnang not playing, that's tough too.
yeah,
He
need
matters.
him. If your identity is going to be like physicality, the paint, playoff support, the four, you probably want your best five available. No Uday for TCU has been a major problem. Like this is a team that identity is typically physicality under Dixon, and they don't have a lot of actual physical heft. And taking him out of the lineup has been a real concern for them. They need him back in there for them to even get, flirting with the NCAA tournament, I think.
And then in I guess the undercard invitation, SMU, Cal Bap, Fresno State, Washington State. I would love to see SMU versus Washington State. I think it could be a sneaky, awesome matchup. Two teams that are,
I'm
I think,
almost
just both
gonna
really good.
guarantee
Um,
that's going to happen.
Yeah.
oh
I
yeah,
think
it's
there's
gonna
going
happen.
to be
It's
two
round yeah. So
routes in the
guess what? We'll see
semifinals.
that.
Yeah.
And then I won't watch Cal Baptist Fresno because I've watched Cal Baptist a couple times now. Fun, but not as good as I hoped they would be. And then Fresno, I just don't think it's going to be very good long term with Vance Wahlberg. They've had some high scoring moments so far, but
They're up and down.
not one. They're up and down. Yeah, it's a roller
Transition.
coaster.
I'm boycotting Fresno until he's playing Aguilar 30 minutes a game.
But
Your
yeah,
best
right.
player, stop playing him 20 minutes a game. Stop it.
SMU rolls this tournament. This team's good. We were right.
I think SMU is good. Kai,
We were
why don't we
right.
stick to this take preseason?
We
This
were
is a
right.
good team. It's a very good team.
Yes.
They're deep. Guys can defend.
Yeah.
Washington State beats him. Washington State beats him.
Yeah, but I love that team too. David Riley and the boys.
SMU lost by double digits at Butler, who lost to Austin P. They're not infallible.
Oh,
Washington State
fair.
can beat
Jim's
them.
right. I forgot they lost to Butler. Okay, Matt. We were still right, but we weren't like super right. At least yet.
I don't get Butler either. Butler annoys me.
Neither do I. Yeah.
And then the last one, the Arizona tip. Oh, sorry, there's a couple other, but the last one we'll talk about the Arizona tip off Butler, as we just discussed, and then Northwestern
Transition
UNL
was laid out.
was
for
right
you
there, and I just
you blow it.
I'll chop that out. I won't.
You won.
Butler, Northwestern, UNLV, Mississippi State. I think the Fighting Chris Janses and Josh Hubbard win this fairly easily. They looked really good. Beat Utah on a neutral game. I think it was earlier this week. UNLV good, but a little bit banged up. And then we talked about Northwestern. They look very vulnerable because they've had guys a little bit in and out, and they don't have Boo Boo anymore. And Butler didn't have a point guard the first 2 weeks of the season. Now I think they do, but still don't really have one. And again, I don't know. The Butler Northwestern life without a generational point guard is just it's just tough, right? Not that Butler's really had that, but they've been searching for that and they still can't seem to find it. And that's what disturbs me when I watch them play.
Yeah,
Northwestern
I think
beats
that's
Butler.
the most interesting game. Agreed, Kai. That's what I was going to say. The most interesting game is Northwestern Butler. I think Northwestern takes care of business, not like easily.
I would agree.
But it's a 3-point spread per Ken Palm. I think Northwestern wins by 7. I think they're going to be okay there. And I'm with you, Matt. Mississippi State's the best team in this group, and they win the whole thing.
Agreed.
Closing thoughts on MTE. It's funny listening to some of these coaches talk about these non-conference games in November. Like, I think you do for a lot of the big programs. I just think there's so little to lose from these, and you see some I don't think coaches are not playing to win, but you see some experimental type of rotations and decisions. And so I think it's important for us to enjoy the ball that's upcoming, but not overreact to it and make any sort of assertions about what these teams really are. Unless we see a UConn outlier performance that should have been the blinking or look out for this team, right? Or even Purdue was dominant. I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, that was bet Zach Edey for
Yes.
wooden award. That was the
So
conclusion 2 years ago.
find those, but then ignore the other 90%. That's, I guess, my advice to all you ball watchers out there. Final thoughts, Kai, Jim.
We have 3 reviews, Matt.
Kai, let's review those reviews.
Okay, here we go. Reviews. We have 3. Thank you so much. One is very short. Bradley Fernandez. I've been listening to the podcast for 6 years. It hasn't dropped in quality. That's a high compliment.
It's high praise.
You guys mentioned how high you are on Texas Tech. As a Red Raider fan myself, I'm in line with you. The versatility of this team is something I have not seen from past squads. After watching 3 games, I can confidently say best team since 22, perhaps since the 2019 Final Four team, national championship runner-up team, I believe. The reason this team sets itself apart is because the offense. This is the first time I've felt we've had an elite offense, and if defense can reach potential, look out. This team truly competes. It's been difficult to determine its weakness. Toppin has been better than expected. What are your concerns with Texas Tech is the punchline to this. Well, I want to see them against good competition. That's number one. They've rolled through easy comp. Let's see what they do against St. Joe's today.
St. Joe's and maybe Texas, probably in the title of that. Maybe the concern for me is there's a lot of guys who are awesome on one side of the court and maybe not as good two-way. Like Darian Williams, awesome two-way player. JT Toppin, awesome two-way player. Hawkins is more offense. McMillan more offense. Walton more offense. Cambridge more defense. Federico more defense. Like you've got to find the right mesh of all those lineups. But that's the thing. I go back to you have McCaslin and Jeff Linder hired off Wyoming. Those guys pulling the strings. I believe in them figuring it out. But that would be one minor concern, I suppose.
Stay healthy, Federico. Stay healthy.
J Royal 16 says best college basketball show on the airwaves. Love the show. Obviously 2 shows a week with Thursday and Saturday best bets. That's right. Stay tuned. Saturday best bets, 10 a.m. Central. Have the boys ever thought about adding another show into the mix? It would be a lot, but we'd love to be blessed twice a week, like a Titus, for instance. Speaking of Mark, have you thought about adding him in the mix as a vibes guest every so often? Much like Kai and Jim joining his show, would you all let him make a guest appearance aside from his Discord appearance for the AMA?
No.
We would let him, of course. Mark is a busy man. I don't think we'll ask him to become a permanent member, but he's always welcome. The door's open.
No, the better answer was he asks every week, and we always say no.
Sometimes he'll be like, "Oh, well, you guys never have me on," and I'm like, "Do you really want to come on?" And he's always like, "Nah, not really."
He does like 7 shows a week. Yeah, it's tough for him. But thank you for the 5-star review. And finally, one last review. Ben in Arizona, best college basketball podcast. The review says, "Love the pod."
Boom.
Thank you.
Drop the mic there, Ben in Arizona.
Matthew, back to you to close us out.
Nope, back to you, listeners. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the week of ball, and I hope that we provided a few nuggets to chew on while you kick up and watch and chow on food or travel, whatever you crazy folks do. Until next week, thank you for stopping by.
Are we recording on Thanksgiving, guys? Should we decide this on air?
Good question. Wednesday or Thursday, right?
I can, because I am staying here for Thanksgiving, Jim. So if you're open to it,
I'll be around. I'll be around. Okay,
yeah.
We'll sort it out offline.
Yeah, we'll sort it out. Thursday. We'll do a podcast next week for sure.
Yep, cool. All right.
So come back and join us then. Goodbye, children.